Folks, my wife and I sold over 2,000 boxes in the last 12 months, which I find unfreaking believable for a small shop like mine. But the only model I was selling is this waterproof model here, which was my favorite, and this is why this was the only model that I picked. It is very thin. It has just super 100% clear lid. I mean, you cannot even see the lid. Thin, clear, and as long when you receive it, it will come with these two bags. You can discard this one, but keep the bubble wrap. I know I repeat this, but believe it or not, even I get new subscribers. Get rid of this one if you get any of these boxes, but keep the bubble wrap. Put the box in the bubble wrap and transport it in the bubble wrap, and your lid will stay perfectly clear forever. But anyway, over 2,000 boxes of just one style, two sizes. This is the small size, this is the large size. So I connected with the vendor and I told him I want to see some other, options. So he sent me a bunch of samples for free after I gave him so much business. And I went through the samples and I picked some ones that I liked for ultralight fishing. And I'm going to show you those samples now and why I like them. But before I show you what I picked, I want to actually show you the samples that I didn't like. And I want to tell you why I didn't like them, so you know why I'm selling what I'm selling. The first stuff that I didn't like was these silicone bottom boxes. These boxes have exactly the same dimensions as the ones that I'm selling, but inside, instead of a foam, you have a super thin silicone mat. I hate this silicone mat, and I honestly don't understand how people are able to even stick their flies here. All of these boxes are originally designed for fly fishing. Let me show you some comparison. First of all, the color bright green, very obnoxious, but the biggest problem is, well, actually there is two problems, but the biggest problem is it's too thin. It's almost like a newspaper. It is too thin and you cannot really plug the jig, you cannot sink the jig head inside. You have to stab instead of sink. The boxes with the foam is deeper and the jig heads sink inside. And they sink so much that you don't need to stab the foam. As a matter of fact, I strongly recommend don't stab the foam. This is nasty, stabbing the foam. Do not stab the foam. The hooks go in the slots and the foam just hugs them. The foam hugs them. Don't stab. But okay, enough time of this. I do not like any of the silicone models. Maybe if they make the silicone much deeper and of different color. The other thing I didn't like is all of these models here have a thin version and they have a deep version. They are exactly the same, except if you compare the depth, look how much thinner the model that I've been selling is. I find thin models so much more elegant. It's not even about saving space, but if you have 5 or 6 of these with different color jig heads or different lures, and you stack them, you can see how the thinner ones will take a lot less space. And to me, they're just more elegant. So thin, when you hold it in your hand and you open it, it's perfectly thin and flat. It just looks so much nicer. So no deep boxes for me. Rejected all of the deep samples. So the one thing that I did like is the same box as mine, but magnetic. So you don't have to see this one. Every time you close it, you have to flip the lid, and you have to, it's kind of tight to close, okay? Flipping the lid is not completely effortlessly. You have to push a little bit and then close it. And if you're wondering why I have to push, why is it so tight? Because they're selling a waterproof box. So you have the soft silicone here, but you still have to press pretty tight against the silicone if you want it to be waterproof. If you completely drop it in the water, if you're wading, no water will come inside, but it has to be tight if you want it to be waterproof. So every time you get something, you have to close it and press and close it. It's not a big deal, of course. I think from now on, this might be my new favorite box because the dimensions are exactly the same, but the closing mechanism is now these little magnets. So this thing here is a magnet. There is just two of them. One on left side, one on right side. And on top you have two small pieces of iron. I guess it has to be iron or steel. And that's how it closes. But the thing is, you don't need to close now the box. When you put the lid, it already closes. And another trick I'm going to tell you right away. There is a way to adjust the strength of the magnets as much as you want. You can, now this one, even though it's much easier to open and close than the waterproof, they still have to use a relatively strong magnets so it doesn't pop open in transportation and make a big mess. But the way I transport mine, I don't need a lot of force in these magnets. Like my boxes are not gonna pop open. The way I fish, the way I travel, they're not gonna pop open. I'm gonna tell you a very quick tip to weaken as much as you want per your liking these magnets, and then it becomes beautifully gentle. Get a piece of nylon from this or from the actual nylon that the box will come with, and glue just a tiny little piece of nylon over the magnet. Not a big piece, just a tiny piece over, only cover the magnet, okay? Then when you close it, now the magnets do not touch and the magnetic field is not as strong because they are separated by the nylon. And the nylon also softens the impact. So you can put a little piece of nylon here and here between the magnets, and then it will be much easier to, see now with this, then it's much easier to open and it kind of closes more quietly. This is what I did with my box at least, but you don't have to, just a little tip. These are so elegant. So check these out, thin, elegant, and magnetic instead of waterproof. The only difference is the closing mechanism. Two more, this video is getting long. Two more new models. This one is waterproof and exactly the same as the one that I have been selling, but with two compartments here. These two compartments, I made a separate video. The white strip that you see here is actually magnetic. So if you put a jig head here, it will kind of hold it and prevent it from flopping. But I'm thinking, why would I ever put a jig head there? Because the jig heads, the foam, I told you, the foam hugs them so beautifully that you don't need to put jig heads here. But the reason I got this particular model is put it in your pocket, just put 2 or 3 different lures here, just trout magnet and some other worm. maybe the same lure, but you can have a couple of different colors. And just after work, all you need is one rod, one reel, and one of these boxes. And just a couple of different weights of jigs. You can put 0.6, 0.75, 1 gram, 1.25, a couple of lures, and that's all you need for a quick trip after work. The last new offering that I have is this little guy here. Talk about a pocket. Now, this thing is tiny. This thing will fit in your pocket like much smaller. This one, you need a deeper pocket to fit this. This one will fit, just any pocket will fit this. And you can see the seal. So yes, it is waterproof. You have to close it tight to close it. But this is another box that I'm thinking can be used for fishing after work. Just a couple of jig heads. Now let me show you some detail here. By the way, each of these boxes, when you go to my shop and you open the page to sell this box, it will have its own separate video where I'm explaining some pros and cons of each type of box, but it's more focused only on that particular model. It will help you, make your mind which box to get exactly. And this one will have its own video. But if you see here the open box, so there is a right and wrong way to hold it. Actually, when you hold it, the yellow seal has to be kind of on the bottom, and this one is the top. It's not symmetrical. So these open buttons here, everything in this box, I was kind of skeptical, but everything is very tight, very high quality. The springs are properly loaded, the buttons are properly loaded, everything works very fine. But I was pressing it and expecting it to open. It doesn't open by pressing, but by sliding down. You have to slide it down and then it opens. And it opens by itself. You don't have to open it. The spring has just the right amount of tension. And then as you can see, each of these, even the smallest compartments, will hold BG1 jigs. They will hold size 12 jigs, size 10 jigs, and they will even hold size 8 BG1 jigs. So that you can do exactly the same thing that I did with this box. You can put here 0.6, 0.75, 1 gram, 1.25, 1.5, a few different jigs. Just put the silver color because, if you put black paint here, the paint will get chipped. So you can put a few silver colors. You can get a couple of lures in your pocket and off you go. Super simple, very good price. All of these boxes, let me tell you, all of these boxes, you will find them on Amazon, but you will see that my prices are lower than Amazon. But I'm gonna have my wife fill a few of these. I will ask her to load it up with everything you need for float fishing. Okay, so some of them I will sell filled up. It will look something like this if I sell it as a, loaded up for float fishing. It will have some 0.25 gram olives. It will have some 0.5 gram olives. It will have some clips. It will have some silicone stoppers. And it will have some silicone tubing to convert your sliding floats into fixed floats. And you're still gonna have, even if I put everything else, you're gonna still have a few compartments that will be open for whatever else you want to add for fishing. So I think this one will be a very neat way to organize all of your different float fishing accessories, or just a few jigs and a few lures and put it in your pocket and go trout fishing after work. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.